Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon everyone. I am so excited for this particular video. And as you can see on the screen, we have an SAT style advanced complex / imaginary number question, and we're supposed to find the value of this question, making sure to note that I equals the square root of -1. So the reason why you always have I and then you're told the value of I to be the square root of -1 is for them to be able to teach you to know that you're supposed to distinguish between an imaginary number or complex number style question in comparison to just a simple algebra question. So it's for you to know that I is not a simple unknown variable like X or Y or A or B. So when you have that information down, now you can know how you're supposed to solve this. So here is the point. The shortcut method is for you to actually work on the question as though I was a variable. Even though you know I is not a variable, I is an imaginary number symbol. So in order for you to do that, you can bring out I squared in the denominator as well as bringing out I squared in the numerator. So you end up with 6I squared, okay, minus I, and that's basically it. And you can go on to cancel the denominator and the numerator, and what you end up with is this. You end up with 6I squared minus I divided by 3. I know many students are like, what? I never knew we could do this. But 100%, this is actually a way to solve it. The thing I wanted to note too is for you to know that in imaginary numbers, complex numbers, anytime we have a fraction-like question, just like the question that we're solving, we do not like our denominator to have imaginary numbers. Just like whenever you're dealing with radicals, we don't like radical denominators like say 2 minus square root of 3 and then 4 is up top. This is not really acceptable in math because we can basically simplify further. So you can see that this is working because we had I squared at the denominator, but when we went on to simplify and solve, we ended up canceling out I squared in the denominator. This is actually what we like because we want to simplify in such a way that we do not have the imaginary number at all in the denominator. Even if it has to exist in the numerator. So that's another tip for you guys. So now that we're done with this part, you may be thinking, well, we're done. Actually, we're not done because we have I squared and we can simplify I squared further. So the way to simplify I squared is for you to first of all solve for I squared. So we know I equals to the square root of -1. Hence, I squared has to be the square root of -1 all squared. And guess what? I squared is the same thing as the square root and the squared combined is the same thing as canceling out both the square and the square root and just putting the value that is inside of the square root. So therefore, I squared is equals to -1. The point is just basically saying -1 all squared is the same thing as -1 raised to the power of half all raised to the power of squared, and then you have -1 2 divided by 2, so your answer is -1. So basically what is inside of the square root is actually what we are interested in. That's basically our answer here. So continuing the solution process, we have 6 times -1, right? Because I squared equals 1 since we're dealing with imaginary numbers, minus I divided by 3. So what you end up with is -6 minus I divided by 3. And you can simplify this further. I'm going to switch the color now to blue. We can simplify this further to -6 divided by 3, I divided by 3. So you have -2 minus 1 over 3 and I here. So the answer to this question is actually, guess what? The answer to the question is -2 minus 1 over 3i. And that's basically the way you solve the shortcut method. One thing I wanted to mention though is I have another video actually that teaches you the powers of imaginary numbers. Like it deals with I squared, I cubed, I to the 4th, I to the 5th, and also a system of knowing every single 1 for you to be able to know how to work with powers of imaginary numbers whenever you're given a question. This is just a shortcut method for this particular question in case the question is quite different from this one, so you're not completely confused. I wish you guys all the very best. Take care of yourself. Please be patient and do not give up because it takes time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.